Good afternoon, everybody, y muy buenas tardes a toda mi gente. My name is Emmanuel Pech, and welcome to our very first episode of our new season of the What's and Whys of Energy. This is the show where we take all those complex energy topics and break them down in a small change. As you know, energy is essential for everyday life. So it's very important for us to understand what's happening in the energy landscape in Belize so that you could make better, more informed energy decisions. On today's show, we are talking about hurricane preparedness and why it matters. Joining me on the show to have this discussion is Mr. Ashton Webster. He is the manager of distribution operations at BEL. Ashton, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon to the viewers and good afternoon to you as well, Emmanuel.
Now, Ashton, you're one of the key persons that are involved in hurricane preparedness activities for BEL. So, and as you know, we always have to stay prepared, especially these days. We've been having a lot of sunshine, the weather is nice, so it's very easy to forget that we are actually in an active hurricane season. So with that said, we cannot be complacent. So tell us, is BEL ready for this hurricane season?
Yes, Emmanuel. We're very prepared. We have a very detailed hurricane preparedness plan that is an year-round program that we execute in phases as the hurricane season approaches closer, it intensifies.
And tell us a little bit more about what the hurricane preparedness plan entails. What are some of those key activities that you guys do all year round in preparation for a hurricane or any emergency for that matter?
So there are several components to the plan, one of which is our asset management program. This is to ensure that our infrastructure that is out there in the field is up to code, right? So BL, we have our infrastructure to a certain standards, right? It meets international standards, right? And our infrastructure has to be maintained to a certain level throughout the year. So this program allows us to inspect our poles and our other infrastructure and then provide us with a plan, right, so that we could correct any issues on that infrastructure. It could be whether the pole is rotten and it's compromised. It can be due to a bird hole. It can also be leaning due to possibly the soil condition that it's in, right? So that is one aspect of it. And then also we have our vegetation management program.
Okay, I like that you pointed out that the entire system is built to certain international standards, which is comforting to a certain extent. But the other thing is that, and our viewers have to understand this, is that the infrastructure is in the natural environment, which means it's exposed to heat, climate change, weather changes. It's exposed to wildlife as well. There are several wildlife that actually interact with infrastructure, whether it be woodpeckers, snakes, other wildlife, And
Right.
over time, these do get into the infrastructure and can cause deterioration over time. So that's why it's very important for you guys, and the work that you do is very important to ensure that the infrastructure is reinforced and ready for whenever an emergency such as a hurricane does come into play. So thank you for reiterating that. And of course, you also mentioned the vegetation management program. Um, Tell us a little bit more about that. What does that entail? How does that look like throughout the year?
So as I mentioned earlier, we have a year-round program for the hurricane season, but it's not necessarily for the hurricane season. It's to ensure the safety of the public and safety of our infrastructure in terms of the environment and how it affects us, right? So the vegetation management program that we have in place starts off doing, we call it pole hill clearing, so that we could protect from wildfires that would happen during the heat season. and thereafter we try to take advantage of that dry season to execute as much tree cutting works as possible. So here at BL, we do research about the vegetation, the types of vegetation we have, the species, and how they interact with the environment. So we're able to produce a cycle and a program to address these issues on a timely basis. So we would go and ensure that we cut that tree or possibly a coconut tree if we have to remove it. We ensure that we do those tasks prior to the hurricane season, because hurricane force winds can have, that coconut tree or that tree limb, or it can break it off, it can turn into a flying debris.
Mm-hmm.
And also that can become an issue in terms of the tree swing into our power lines while a hurricane is on, right? So we try to address these issues prior to the hurricane season.
Right. You mentioned a very important point, and that is that trees coming into contact with power lines, that's one of the main causes for outages during a storm. So it's very, very interesting to know this, and actually customers can also assist in this regard, right? As you all carry out this vegetation management program, which also involves clearing of trees within roadsides or any hazard trees that can potentially have the potential to affect the power line, right? And like you said, you guys do this all year round. It's not only leading up to the hurricane season. So it's very important for our viewers to understand this and to also play their part by contacting BEL if they see a hazard tree, um, or a tree that is in their yard or somewhere close to their home that can potentially cause an impact. Could you describe, like, how exactly do you go about defining a hazard tree? What's the definition for a hazard tree that must be cut and corrected so it doesn't affect the power line?
So we use basically two categories, one of which is the tree type and the species. For example, a coconut tree, right? A coconut tree normally grows above 15 feet, right? And because of that, it becomes a hazard if it's planted in proximity to the power lines.
Mm-hmm.
So we use a standard, that's our second application. We use our standards that guides us to say basically, depending on the height of the tree, we would want it to be 15 feet away from the power lines or more, right? So these standards is what guides us in identifying what we call a danger tree, because a tree can be 20 feet away,
Mm-hmm.
but 40 feet in the air, and if it topples over, then it destroys the power lines,
Mm.
right? So that's how we would identify the tree, and then we address them on a case-by-case basis.
Right. And this is even more important during a storm, like a hurricane, where hurricane wind forces acting on that tree cause it to tilt or topple over, like you mentioned. And sometimes you might be surprised the tree can look very sturdy, but the right hurricane comes along and uproots it and sends it off into the infrastructure that can cause major issues. So to avoid that, our teams are proactively going about clearing these trees that have that potential to cause damage to the infrastructure, to have the potential to cause outages during a storm, and also have the potential to cause damages to our customers' property as well. So do your part. If you have identified a hazard tree, be sure to contact us, report it via our BEL 24/7 app. You can also call us via our toll-free number 0800 BEL Care, or you can also send us an email at belcare@bel.com.bz. All right. So now, Ashton, we've talked about what BEL does to prepare for the hurricane season. But what can our customers do to ensure they stay safe during this hurricane season?
Okay, for me, Manuel, being that, I am from obviously the utility company, there's certain things that is key for me and important. One of which is ensuring that you have an emergency plan, right? You need to ensure that you secure all your goods, whether it be important documents, water, batteries, radios, that sort of thing, so that you could be informed and prepared, which leads into my next recommendation, which is to have an evacuation plan, right? Whether you live in a low-lying area, or especially if you live in a low-lying area, where, if the storm comes in your section of the country, you're exposed to a possible storm surge, then you need to make sure that you have an evacuation plan, right? Also, you'd want to secure anything that can become a flying debris while, hurricane force winds affect your area, right? So make sure that you have, that piece of lumber or that tree, that's, possibly leaning close to your house. Make sure that you address that, because, it can cause damages to your property. And obviously, think about also the electricity that flows in your house, right? You would want to turn off your breaker or plug out your appliances if needs be, especially if water comes inside your house.
Okay. So it's really important that you mentioned the electrical appliances, um, particularly for cases where we experience flooding, like you said, low-lying areas. So be sure, like Ashton mentioned, if you do live in a low-lying area, be sure to have an evacuation plan. And not only that, but also remember to turn off your breaker when a storm is coming in or you are experiencing flooding in your area. Um, Ashton, what about when to turn on your breaker? When is it safe to turn on your breaker, after a storm or after a flooding?
My recommendation is to get somebody who's certified and certified electrician
Mm.
to inspect your household. So, if you are affected by water, flooding, anything of that sort that can compromise your electrical outlets, for example, because the outlets are only about a foot and a half off the ground. So if you're affected in that manner by water, then you need to make sure that an electrician certify that your house is capable of receiving power before you turn off that breaker. Turn
What?
on that breaker.
Right.
Apologies.
What about, for example, when we have a lot of, and this is not only for hurricane, but even like lightning storms, surge protectors, do they make a difference?
Yes, they do, actually, because lightning storms provide surges and insert, hazardous um, current flow into the system, right? So ensuring that you have surge protectors does help your household. Apart from that, you need to make sure that you have proper grounding and good standing infrastructure as well, right?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ashton, for those tips. I hope our customers, our viewers, are taking notes as well. We are in the hurricane season, although we might not think about it, especially since we've been having such beautiful weather these days. But be sure to have an emergency plan, have an evacuation plan, especially if you live in low-lying areas. We want to encourage you to stay safe and be prepared this hurricane season. Now we've reached one of my favorite parts of the show where we do a giveaway for our viewers who have been tuning in and following us on social media. Now, during the promotion of the show, we had asked our viewers to comment how you prepare for the hurricane season. Now, we got a lot of great comments on the flyer, and our team had looked at all of those comments, and we selected a winner. And the winner will be going home with a BEL gift basket. This is what you will be winning. It comes with a surge protector, a radio to get you started on that hurricane preparedness kit, and several other BL promotional items and some other goodies for you. Now, as I said, we took a look at all of those amazing comments that you had all had placed, but only one was selected as the winner. And without further ado, the winner of this discussion or this Facebook discussion is none other than Marisa Castellanos. Congratulations, Marisa. Congratulations. Your comment has just won you this amazing BL basket. Remember to message us on Facebook privately so that we can arrange for the delivery of your prize. Now, I just want to share with you what Marisa Castellanos had said in her comments that won her that amazing prize. In her comment, she said, hurricane season has started and being prepared is important. Hurricanes are natural disasters that have no control. Flooding, strong winds, and even heavy rain in which we must be prepared for any scenario that might occur. That is why we should be prepared by having important documents sealed and protected, have food supply for 2 weeks if necessary, have potable drinking water for a while, be prepared with flashlights and extra batteries. Radio is essential for keeping informed with the weather update. First aid kit. Don't come out for anything until the all clear has been given. That's very true. Power outages are imminent to happen, so be prepared to turn your breaker box off to avoid any short circuits. Keep an emergency cell phone available for any occasion and have the proper authorities number like NEMO on speed dial. It's better to prevent than later on lament. So let us all be safe, keep our family members informed, and aid them on getting prepared as well. Thank you very much, Marisa Castellanos, for that amazing comment, which has won you a gift basket. And thank you to all those who participated and commented. And be sure to tune in for the next episode and look out for other opportunities to win. With that said, Ashton, I want to thank you for taking the time out and joining us to have this very important conversation. Particularly in this season, it's very important to have these discussions.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you to the viewers. It was a pleasure being here with you.
All right. And thank you as well to all our viewers. Thank you for joining us on the show and for participating in the discussion. As Ashton mentioned, and I hope you take that into account, have an emergency plan to safeguard yourself and your families this hurricane season. My name is Emmanuel Petch, and I want to wish you a safe weekend. And as always, stay informed, and we'll see you all next time on the What's and Whys of Energy.